Welcome to the People Sports Podcast. She is Charlotte Wilder. I am Mark Titus, but you might need to be reminded because I have been missing for a couple weeks, Charlotte, and you have you have not missed a beat. If I'm being completely honest, I was hoping I would be missed more. I was not.
No, Mark, I missed you. I missed you terribly, but I couldn't say that to our other guests because, I want them to feel special. I don't want them to feel like they're walking into an unfillable role, but no, I mean, I thought Ben was great, and he was a great hang. We had snacks on.
Yeah, Ben, what the hell? Like, Ben Verlander is just basically like a better looking, younger version of me. Like, the guy is, he's
Mark.
Yeah, like what I see what's happening, and you think I don't witness this? You think I don't have like the internet and I can't see that you're, just upgrading me?
I'm just trying to keep you on your toes. I want you to fight for what you have.
All right. Well,
no, you got it. What I will say is you have a darkness that I identify with that I think Ben is much happier than both of us. And so talking to Ben, I was like, whoa, this is a pretty upbeat podcast. With you, I'm usually like, oh yeah, no, like we're both like the world is ending and we know it. And Ben was, I think he's probably a nicer person than we are.
yeah. If I was that guy, I'd be a lot happier too, as it turns out. So there you go. It all checks out.
So I did miss you, is what I'm trying to say. And I want to know how you're doing. Are you okay? I'm doing a lot.
I'm very tired, but that's to be expected. It's nice. It's nice to feel wanted for once throughout the year. That March rolls around and then people are like,
it's a good month for you.
Yeah, it's a good month for me. But I do. I don't do much of anything for 11 months, and then March
that's not true. You do this podcast.
Yeah, I know, but for the most part, it's so.
If that's you not doing much for 11 months, I need to believe that's doing something because that's all I have 12 months out of the year, buddy. So we got to elevate PSP.
Well, yeah, like I can't tell if I'm overwhelmed right now, like if it's justified or not. I can't tell, like when March rolls around and I kind of get a little overwhelmed. I can't tell if it's just me being soft because it's like I have no time to go to the beach right now. So I'm like, I have to tell my friends, sorry, I can't go to the beach. So I'm pretending like I'm mining coal for a living and I'm super aggrieved.
No, what I will say is that, like, so for me that week of the Super Bowl, or normally All-Star weekends or, whatever the sort of big events that come up that I cover. And as a generalist, they sort of like put me where they think it's a thing people care about. And for that week, 2 weeks, it's like flat out and it's a few times a year and I'm exhausted and I feel bad for myself and I'm working so hard. And then I get to the hotel and I'm like, the job that you just had to do was go to a home run derby and write jokes about it. So what if we relax? So I know what you mean, but at the same time, it also is like, you still want to do it well and you still want to have the jokes be good, and that takes energy.
Well, the funniest part to me is how exhausted I got, or how exhausted I felt just simply sitting there watching basketball all day. That's all I did. Like I would sit on a chair and just watch guys play basketball, and then I would talk about it.
But you were doing that publicly.
I would go home. Yeah, but then I'd go home and I'm like, oh, I feel like I just ran a marathon. How did this? And then I realized I'm old. That's the answer. I'm old. No. That's what we're learning.
The answer, Mark, and I'm not saying this to make myself feel better, but maybe I am a little bit, is that doing these sorts of things, like there is a degree of energy that, when we're talking to each other and we know that other people are going to hear it, I hope we're trying harder than if I were to call you up and like bitch about something. You know what I mean? Like you want it to be better. You want to be your best version. And it turns out that being the best version of yourself actually takes a lot of energy if you don't do it that often.
Well, anyway, that's where I'm at. I'm okay. All right though. It's fine. It's not a big deal. But it is funny that I'm soft is really the but I will say for everyone listening, I do get very much sucked into the March Madness vortex. The rest of the world does not exist when March Madness tips off, because it is in all seriousness. Again, I'm not mining coal for a living, so I'm not pretending like it's the hardest job in the world. But it is very time consuming to the point that I honestly have no idea what else is going on. I could tell you, I could talk to you about Oral Roberts' bench if you would like me to, but I couldn't tell you.
Which is important.
I have no idea what's going on in the world.
All right. Well, that's great, Mark, because today what I want to do is I just want to tell you what's going on in the world. Some stories that you may have missed. I think you're going to find them there's some good stuff in here. There's some really relevant to PSP things that have happened recently that we got to talk about. That once I tell you what's happened, you'll be like, say no more. I don't have to research this. I know exactly what's going on.
Can I guess one of them?
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers and Shailene Woodley broke up.
Wait, did they?
I don't know. I was guessing.
Oh my God. Oh my God, you just gave me a heart attack. I was like, is that the one thing you know that happened that I didn't know that happened? I don't think that happened.
Okay. I was just guessing. It just felt like enough time had passed now that would be the story now.
Well, I mean, they might have, and we don't know it. But, you know, I'll check their Instagrams again. But I'm not going to talk about that because that's not a thing we talk about on this podcast. Also, though, I just want to say real quick, Mark, I've gotten obsessed with March Madness. With the men's and women's tournaments. Yeah. I'm like, I think I'm addicted to basketball. Like if basketball isn't on the TV, I'm like, where is the basketball? It becomes this like very rhythmic thing. Do you know what I mean? Where you're just like, it's the constant and college basketball, especially where they just like miss shots. Like if I was watching the tournament and then went to watch an NBA game and I was like, oh my God, it makes the tournament hilarious if you watch an NBA game. Yeah, it makes it more fun,
doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, the NBA is like not even basketball. It's like an algorithm that you plug into robots, and like they're too good. I say that as a compliment. Like they're too good. They've cracked the code. I mean, I saw Kirk Goldsberry. He's the guy that makes the shot charts. You know, I know cool Kirk. Looking, yeah.
I've drank beers with Kirk and Austin, Mark.
Okay. Relax, Charlotte. Jeez.
I said that as a joke, but also it's true.
I saw he put out a shot chart today of like the most frequent shot, like where people shoot the most shots in NBA games, and it's basically all threes and layups is all it is. Like the mid range is dead, and people that are in the NBA will say that's awesome, and that just shows how smart these guys are and how efficient it is, and I'm just like, yeah, it's just kind of the same. That just means you're too efficient. I'm gonna be honest, it's not fun.
I love a good mid-range jumper that doesn't go in. Like that's my bread and butter. That's where I shoot from, and that's usually what happens to me metaphorically in life. So
the NBA trade deadline, to my understanding, is it's this week. It's coming up. It's happening.
I the day that our podcast comes out. It's Thursday.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, because I can feel the buzz. I haven't really paid much attention, but I can, you know, the times I get on Twitter and I'm scrolling through trying to read March Madness stuff, there's like NBA trade talk popping up, and another thing that sets college basketball apart from the NBA is like the NBA, you look up halfway through the season and your point guard situation is a disaster. You pull a trade and you figure it out. In college, if your point guard situation is a disaster, good luck. Good luck.
Right. Like there's a lot of talk right now that, you know, Kyle Lowry could go to where was he going to go? Now someone just said this to me and now I can't remember, which is great for a podcast where I'm supposed to be telling you what's going on in the world. But you know, like a veteran point guard that a team might need at this point. The Raptors aren't aren't contenders. They can just take Lowry.
The Raptors would be a great team though. Like if if Master P got all of his Master P's son, Little Romeo, remember him? He played basketball at USC. Like you put a team full of rappers together, could they?
That would be amazing. Oh, Drake would flop all the time. All Drake would do was flop. He'd be like, my ankle. And he'd be like, but okay, so let's get into it. Do you want me to tell you what's been going on?
Please do. Please.
Okay. Yes. There are 3 headlines that aren't fun or funny that we're not going to talk about, but I feel like I'm going to tell you them so that you know them. Elgin Baylor, legendary Hall of Famer, Lakers star. He died. You know that one. All right.
Yeah, I saw that. That's
he's a legend.
That's not fun.
No.
Nor is it funny.
No, but it's important. So I'm going to mention it.
Yeah.
Here's one that, I mean, this one is just like depressing and I don't want to talk about it at all, but I don't know if you know that the number
worse than the guy dying.
No, just, we're going to do this part really quick. The number of lawsuits that women have filed against Deshaun Watson is now up to 16.
What?
Yeah. For, inappropriate or sexual harassment or forced, you know, sexual things.
Yeah, I
massage.
did not know about this, so
Yeah.
I guess I got some reading to do on that one.
Yes,
Wow,
you can read up
okay.
on that one. That's some bad news. And this is a bad one that and obviously I want to preface this. There are definitely times and places to talk about this stuff. I'm not saying like we should not talk about this, but this podcast, by the rules of this podcast, we're catching up real quick and then we're moving on. This one was astonishing to me as a headline because it felt like a bad Mad Lib. Lazio signed Mussolini's great-grandson to first professional contract. A fascist dictator's grandson now plays for a team in Italy whose fans are right-wing idiots.
Yeah, but is he a dictator? You know, like the sins of the father, right? Like,
I know.
Why should you have to suffer? Why should he
I don't
have to
know.
change his
I don't
name?
have
his
answers to this
grandpa's
one.
the asshole, right? Like, why does he have to?
I feel like I wouldn't want to be Charlotte Hitler. You know, I think I
would
might
be
change
bad.
that one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, I have. Do we know anything about the guy other than he kept the last name? I guess that kind of tells you all you need to know, right?
I don't think
as you said,
he did.
Oh, he didn't.
He didn't. He has a different last name because it was
Okay.
the mom was the granddaughter, and she had this kid, and this kid is So, but that was
would
a
be
headline
tough.
I wasn't expecting to see, and I just wanted to read that to
Can
you.
he play? Is he good?
Yeah, I mean, right? I don't know. We got to look into that too. But you know, on our other podcast about
Yeah, I'll get you his jersey
fascism in
for-
sports.
I'll get you I'll buy his jersey as a gift.
That's perfect. That's exactly what I want. Here's what I do want to talk about. What I
Okay.
want to tell you, the fun or ridiculous things that have happened. Here's one. Dodgers fans bought a billboard next to Fenway Park thanking them for Mookie Betts.
Oh, I like that. That's a great move.
This is not fun or funny to me personally, but I thought you would find it entertaining.
Yeah, they traded. I mean, Mookie Betts won a title as soon as he got to LA. That's hilarious. That's great. Yeah, I love it. It's kind of weird that they waited this long though. Is it because are they trying to coincide with opening day? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
You put it up now. Yeah, okay. That makes
Definitely.
sense.
And
I feel like
honestly,
they should have done it after they won the World Series, but that's okay. Still funny.
they
Still
should have, but
plays.
they're trying to put salt in the wound delayed. Like you thought it was healed, and then someone opens it up and pours salt back in. And what I think I'm going to write something about this. I'm not going to lie, Mark. I have too many thoughts about this, but the bottom line to me is that this is the greatest Boston troll of all time because the guy who did it, he's like, he's earnest about it. He's like, I really just wanted to thank Boston. Like, this isn't sarcastic. I'm not trying to be an asshole. Like, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. And to me, that's the meanest thing you could do to Boston because everyone in Boston is sarcastic. Like, no one does earnestness very well. Like, so this is meaner to Boston fans than like Boston fans would probably just rather this guy punch him in the face. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like.
It didn't dawn on me until just this moment that Boston also gave Tampa Bay Tom Brady, and he won a title as well. And that was, I swear to God, I never connected that Mookie
You didn't think of
Betts
that?
and no, I really didn't until it was right. Because this might shock you, Charlotte. Not everybody in this country thinks about Boston all that much. In fact, I would argue that I've never once thought about Boston if I'm not talking to someone from Boston.
Well, you know,
So,
that's why Buck hired me because there's such a lack of Boston representation in national media that I was like, I'll be the one to I'll fall on the sword.
I mean, the story does kind of feel a little like one thing didn't go our way, so let's pretend like this is the. You're like, yeah, you think you've had it bad, Browns fans? Listen to this. We had a billboard put up because we had to watch our best player go to Los Angeles. How bad is that? We won a billion titles in every sport imaginable, and then our best players went and left, and then they won titles, and now that's like the worst thing that's ever happened to us.
Okay, well, when you put it that way, that one's hard to argue with. So whatever. Here's the next story I want to tell you about, you big dummy. Okay, NHL investigating referee saying he, quote, wanted to get a penalty against Nashville Predators. So here's what happened. Yeah, I know. It's a confusing headline. I'm going to read you. Our pal Greg Wyshynski at ESPN wrote about this, and he said it was a Red Wings Preds game. Also, what cities are those in, Mark? You remember?
Detroit versus Nashville. Yep.
He's
Look at
still
that.
got it, folks.
Look at that.
We're back, baby. Okay, Greg Wyshynski writes, with 15 minutes and 4 seconds left in the second period, Predators forward Victor Arvidsson spelled with like 30 S's, was called for tripping Red Wings defenseman John Mello. Red Wings defenseman John.
I'm hunting Red Wings.
The Red Wings were playing really, really well. Okay, Red Wings defenseman John Merrill in the offensive zone, even though replays showed that Merrill embellished the fall to draw the call. Okay, so great. With 12:42 remaining in the second period, the Nashville broadcast captured audio from an on-ice official, Tim Peel, saying, "It wasn't much, but I wanted..." Now, producer Cap, please bleep this out because this is a family podcast, but I'm going to say it. "It wasn't much, but I wanted to get a penalty against Nashville early." A hot mic, Mark.
So the ref purposely was hunting for a penalty to call, is what you're saying. Is this, and so his crime is more that he got caught on the hot mic more so than doing this, because it's my understanding this is what all refs do. Is this not how
right.
Is this not how officiating professional sports works? Is it's like we gotta, right out of the gate,
right.
screw the other team. It's
Yeah.
the Lakers are playing who? They're playing the Grizzlies, and it's a
Right.
must win for LeBron. No, come on.
Well,
All
the refs have been
foul on the Grizzlies.
Exactly. Right. Right. And the refs have been doing a lot lately, especially against the Knicks, which has been just a wild. There have been 2 end of the game things where calls have not gone Julius Randle's way, and it's been a whole thing. But you don't care about that. So back to this Nashville thing. Nashville won 2-0. And the best part about this, Mark, is that the coach, John Hines, afterwards at his press conference, gave the most hockey presser ever. He said, "I think the situation," I'm sorry, it's just like so good. "I think the situation is what it is. I think from our perspective, it probably doesn't matter how I feel about it in general, but the referees are employees of the league. And rather than me comment, I think it's an issue that the league will have to take care of. You always want to have things that are fair for your players and for your team, but there are no excuses. We have to find a way to kill the penalty and control what we can control."
That is a pretty. What else can you say? Like that's a pretty classy answer, I'd say.
Yeah, but that's hockey guys being like, I'm not gonna say, I'm not gonna get in the mud at all. Like if this were an NBA coach, they'd be like, that was like,
yeah. It was garbage. You know what really sucks is when you realize as an adult that the refs throwing the games, rigging the games, whatever, actually might be best for the games. Like professional sports are businesses. They're meant to just be entertainment. They're not meant to. They're not trying to this is the appeal of amateur athletics, is that it is quote unquote for the love of the game, whereas professional sports are just it's just supposed to be entertainment. It's like going to see the circus in town, right? So if part of that is some sort of orchestrated deal from the refs, like who cares at the end of the day? Like all the NBA should really care about is how much money, and the NHL, how much money they're making, and if it makes more money to, I don't know. You know what I mean? You have a little WWE situation where this is true in the NBA too. There are like certain refs that certain coaches obviously hate, and the refs have it out for certain players, and like everyone knows it. It kind of makes it more entertaining because that ref is reffing that guy, or like that ref tossed that coach last week, and now he's reffing this pivotal playoff game. And does the NHL, I don't know how the NBA got roped in this. I guess I'm just a basketball guy, so I just default.
No, I mentioned it.
But does the NHL have an obligation to maintain the integrity of the game? I think your gut reaction is yes, but then if you really think about it, ultimately it's just a business that's just trying to entertain people. And do they really need to preserve the sanctity of hockey? I don't think so. Let him have his biases and say, who cares? It's fun. I really feel like the only crime he committed was that he got caught on a hot mic, Charlotte. That's it. And now the world knows. I think he does this behind closed doors. Nobody cares.
I think I have several thoughts about this. First of all, I think you're right. I think that on some level, maybe the WWE is the most pure and honest form of sports we have because they're upfront about it. Secondly, it's like, if there's a party of underage kids and everybody's drinking, but one kid gets caught and they get written up and in trouble, it's like, oh, well, the only thing is that he got caught. Like, that's what happened here. I also think that it feels cynical to say that, but I think you're right that like, come on, let's just, the one thing that I do hate is where a lot of NBA games these days are coming down to the end of game calls where it's decided by the refs. It's like that to me is frustrating because it's much more fun when it doesn't end on like a bad call and everybody's sad. But like,
yeah.
I do. So in terms of sanctity of the game, do whatever you're going to do. Like
I would argue it is actually more irresponsible to not rig games. If I was running professional sports league, I would argue like it's smarter to just rig the games and just like, you don't want to tell people about it. Cause I think if the public knows that the games are rigged, they're not going to tune in. Ultimately, all that matters is you're getting eyeballs on the product and you're getting dollars flowing your way, right? That's their goal. That's all they care about.
I missed you so much. I missed you so much.
Charlotte, am I wrong? If you asked Adam Silver, you're like, all right, Adam, you could have one of two things: $1 billion trillion and like the largest audience on earth, and more people are watching you than the NFL, or like you can go to sleep every single night and know that every decision every ref made in all of your games was the correct one, and all of these games are pure. Which one is he taking? I mean, are you serious?
Well, obviously the former, because I would take millions and billions of dollars, but also because the game's already not pure. Like all of this stuff is already so corrupted and like yeah, exactly.
So
I love it.
Who cares? Like let the refs be corrupt. You just have to, like, again, the pendulum swings too far, then people are going to check out. Like if the public catches on and they realize, that's why you have to like kind of give the middling franchises a chance and give them the illusion, give Pacers fans an illusion that someday maybe if they just draft a LeBron James of their own, they could someday maybe win a championship. And you keep them on the string, Charlotte. You understand? Because moment that they realize, oh, this game is rigged, we have zero shot. Like we're never going to win anything. The refs have it out for us. The free agency market is never going to swing our way. We're screwed. Then all the fans check out. So you keep them, you gotta tilt you gotta put your thumb on the scale. You start putting your foot on the scale, then people check out. And I don't know. I should run my own sports league. You know what that's called?
That's called the illusion of hope, Mark. And it's what you give fans when you fire the coach. It's what you give fans when firing the coach isn't going to fix a team. Are you kidding me? It's just, I mean, sometimes it is, but like a lot of times it's just a great way to, make someone feel like you did something.
Like,
so we should start a professional, like what would our league be?
I don't know. Bring back slam ball. We like that.
Yeah,
a lot,
the People's Sports Slam, the People's Slam Ball podcast.
What?
Sorry, don't worry about it. Anyway, so that happened. Okay. I'm gonna stick with NBA stuff but also they fired the ref. The ref got fired. The ref got fired.
See, that's what I mean. I feel like he ultimately got fired because he got picked up on a hot mic, and that killed the public can't know. The public has to suspect that the games are rigged. They can't know straight up that the games are rigged because then there's a problem. So that's.
Do you know what I think about every single time I watch an NBA game?
What's that?
Basketball. No. The Ayesha Curry tweet where Steph Curry's wife tweeted the league is absolutely rigged for money.
Yeah. Yes,
I think about that, and she deleted it, but I think about that tweet at least once a day.
It should be. The league should be rigged for money and ratings. That's how it works. It's a business. That's their obligation, is to make as much money as possible. That is their motivation. That is of course. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Great. Okay. Sticking with NBA stuff. I don't know if you saw that. You probably saw this one. LeBron left Saturday's game against the Hawks with a high ankle sprain. Mm-hmm. I saw that. Yeah. There's an indefinite timeline for his return. Wow. Lakers are still favorites to win the finals at plus 260, but the Nets are right behind them at plus 280. And this is coming from someone who has finally understood what gambling terms are and just wanted to show off. But yeah, so the Lakers seem a little screwed right now. And also LaMelo is out. Yeah, I saw that too. He hurt his wrist or something. Yeah. I only know that because Tate came into we went to do a show and Tate was just losing his mind over it, and I was like, "What's wrong, buddy?" Yeah, he was almost more sad about that than North Carolina losing. I was gonna say it's a tough week for Tate. Yeah, it's a tough week. I want you to. Can I get some credit? I didn't even bring up Ohio State. Yeah, that was nice of you. I think I need an objective opinion. Shoot me straight. Okay. Do you think the story now, as it stands today, is Oral Roberts or has gone on a Cinderella run to the Sweet 16, or that Ohio State choked in the first round against Oral Roberts? Which one is more true?
I'm gonna go with Oral Roberts is on a Cinderella run.
Because I think Oral Roberts winning the second game helps, right? That helps Ohio State's case.
It definitely helps. And Ohio State, like, it didn't look awful the whole time. There was some hope. They didn't. I really, honestly,
like two seed playing Oral Roberts, and you're like, you guys tried really hard. There were some moments that looked really good.
Hey, look,
you should be
I don't
proud of
like
yourselves.
Oral Roberts. I think they're the worst. I think that's stupid to name a school after a toothpaste. I think they're not nice to gay people. Like, it's like, what are we doing here? You know, I'm not going to root for them, but I do think that making it a Cinderella story for them makes it a better narrative for you. So I think we should go with that.
Okay. All right.
And they won the second game. Yeah, that counts.
Also, I'm pretty sure the players don't really. I mean, I think most of the players are probably just like, yeah, I want to go to college, and you're.
Oh yeah, I can't take that. I'm not taking it out on the players. I just mean like the idea of Oral Roberts. Like the players seem lovely and they're always nice.
The thing about Oral Roberts too is I think you hear the name of that university and you think it's like James Madison University, where this guy who lived 10 trillion years ago.
Oh, no.
Like the guy died like 12 years ago or something like that. I'm making it up, but like, it's like, no, the guy was a televangelist. He was like on TV all the time.
Yeah,
like,
part of that is televangelist. Like they had to invent televisions already for him to be able to found this university.
That's what's funny to me is that you just hear the name of the school, and there are plenty of schools in this country named after people, and most of them there's no video of them at all because there's hardly even pictures. To get their picture taken, they had to sit still for 3 days because that's the way the cameras worked back then. And that's like those are the people
known as a painting.
Yeah, there's like one picture of that person on the campus. There's one picture we've ever gotten of that person his entire life.
Yeah,
and it cost $1 billion to commission that one picture. And then Oral Roberts is like, yeah, the guy had a Hummer. You know,
he had an electric Hummer actually.
So
this guy is also, his name is Oral, which is just an unbelievable. Like if you take that out on its own and think about that's his first name. That's just gonna let that hang there for a second.
Yeah. Also, the Beavers of Oregon State are in the Sweet 16 as well. So we have.
Is there a possibility that there's a matchup there? There's
a lot to love if you're a 13-year-old boy.
Could they play each other? Or if you're an almost 32-year-old woman or a 32-year-old, I guess I'm 32 now.
Oral would play. We'd get the Beavers versus Oral showdown in the Final Four, I believe. Yeah, that's how the bracket shook out. So.
All right. Well, I guess now I'm rooting for Oral Roberts. So, oh my God, I think my brain would explode if that game happened. I don't know how I would control myself.
Wait. Hold on, I looked this up because I was curious. He literally did die 12 years ago. I pulled 12 out of my ass. I had no idea.
You're kidding me.
He died in 2009, Oral Roberts. That's amazing. I was just trying to think of like a lowish number, and I said 12, and he died in December 2009, so there you go.
Maybe you have like a secret superpower of guessing when people died. When did Prince die, Mark?
That's a great super. That was like 5 years ago.
It was 5 years ago. See?
Oh my God. I don't like this.
All right. It's a creepy one, but
let's move on.
All right. Before we get into more, I have a stupid NFL thing, but do you care about what NFL stuff?
Yeah. What's going on in the NFL? I would like to know.
That was a trap because what's going on in the NFL is that Trevor Lawrence's fiance's Instagram keeps popping up on my Explore page. And so I clicked it, went through all of her pictures, went through all of his pictures, found out that the girl who was on The Bachelor 2 seasons ago or a season ago keeps commenting on Trevor Lawrence's fiance's Instagram. That girl is Maddie Pruitt. Her father is a coach of an assistant coach at Auburn to Bruce Pearl. I tweeted about that enough. Bruce Pearl now follows me on Twitter. So
what?
That's related to the NFL.
That's really and it involved 0 people in the NFL and 0.
Trevor Lawrence.
He's in the NFL?
Oh, that's a good point. Not yet. He will be.
I miss doing this show. I missed it so much.
I'm so glad.
So that's all that's happened in the world of sports, huh? Is that?
No, there's some more stuff.
What?
A man found shrimp tails in his Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
What?
That's not in the world of sports, but it's important and we have to talk about it. Did you see this?
No.
Oh my God.
What
Dude,
you found shrimp tails?
This thing went absolutely viral. Do you want me to send it to you? Do you want me to send it in our little chat box here?
Yeah, please do. I'll
Okay,
check
if
this
I can
out.
figure out how to copy and paste on a PC, that's always tricky. All right, here we go. Control C. Control V. Did I do it?
No.
God damn it. Control send. Did I do it?
Also, no. No, you did not. No.
Why can't I use a computer?
But it sounds interesting.
Okay, well, I'm going to read it to you then. Here's what happened.
Okay.
So this guy, I went down the whole rabbit hole of this Twitter thing. This guy who's married to Topanga, the woman who played Topanga in...
yeah. Daniel Fishel.
Yeah.
Jensen
Yes,
something's his
Jensen
name.
Karp.
Yeah.
Do you know him?
I met him. I met him at
No
like
way,
some,
you know this
some
guy?
LA deal, you know. He's a wrestling guy. I met him at a wrestling show in Staples Center, and I grabbed dinner with him before the show and everything. Yeah.
Dude, this story just got so much better. Okay, your
because I
friend...
remember the whole time just like sitting next to, I'm like, that guy's married to Topanga? What the hell? And yeah. And then she showed up, and I was like, Topanga. Oh
She
my
was
God.
there?
Yeah.
You met Topanga?
I met Topanga. Yeah.
You can tell how incredulous I am because my voice keeps getting higher and higher. Damn. Okay. Well, here's what happened. Jensen was eating Cinnamon Toast Crunch and found 2 shrimp tails in the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, all coated with sugar at this point because they've been in the box for long enough. And he tweeted at Cinnamon Toast Crunch. He was like, "Oh, why are there shrimp tails in my Cinnamon Toast Crunch?" And CTC, which is my favorite cereal, so I'm a little upset about this whole thing. They write back, and their response is not to say, "I'm so sorry, we'll figure this out," or like they say, "Those are just it's just accumulations of sugar." And the guy's like, "No,
they denied it. They said that you're lying, basically."
And the guy was like, "No, these are clearly shrimp tails." And so they were like, all right, DM us. So he's posting all of the DMs, all of the emails. Like it eventually gets to the point where at the bottom of the box, there's a bunch of like little black things that could be rat droppings, like baked into some. The guy had already eaten a bowl of this. He calls poison control. And they're like, good news. If it's rat droppings, you won't feel the effects of the infection for at least 2 or 3 days. This guy's freaking out. This is going completely viral. General Mills puts out a statement saying, but it's not the first time that General Mills has had shrimp in their cereal. There was shrimp in a box of something. It is the weirdest thing. So now the shrimp are getting DNA tested by a bunch of biologists who saw this on Twitter and were like, give us the shrimp tails. Because what had happened was General Mills was finally like, okay, fine, send us the shrimp tails. And Jensen's like, well, I'm keeping one of the shrimp tails because you tried to tell me these were sugar and I want evidence. And they were like, okay, if you won't send them back to us, bring them to your local law enforcement. And he was like, what am I going to do? Walk into my nearest precinct and be like, hey, here are the shrimp tails General Mills wanted. Like it's a smoking gun from a murder. Like the whole thing got so absurd. And so he's waiting to see if he's going to get sick from, and then they open, and then Topanga opened the other bag of, it was in a family box. Open the other one. There was dental floss, a small rope.
No. That's the lie.
Look at it. It's your buddy. Call him up, Mark. Should we get Jensen on the podcast?
Get Jensen on the podcast. This is planted.
Wait, Mark, we should get Jensen on the podcast now.
I mean,
Jensen,
I don't know
please.
him. I said I met him, a friend of a friend.
You had dinner with him. Do you have his phone number?
Charlotte, you've been to Los Angeles. You know how it works. The celebs out here, us celebs.
Oh, sorry. Marina Del Mar, palling around with his rich friends. Listen, no, buddy, don't you have his number?
You just walk around, you ask people their clout score. If it's a certain number, you're like, all right, let's grab dinner. That's all it is. And then you just both bump up a couple spots and then you go on your way. You never talk again. That's how it works. That's how okay, whatever. Anyway, it's a big story and everybody's talking about it. That's BS. I don't believe it for a second. I think it's planted. The dental floss, like you had me going with the shrimp tails, whatever else. I'm not buying it. And also, like, who cares? Like, you know what would happen if I could find a bag of dog crap in the bottom of my Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I would pour it and pour out and I'd be like, well, that's not supposed to be there. And then I just throw it all away. I'd go to the grocery, buy a new box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and then go about my business and not think twice about it.
Same,
I wouldn't like put
because-
it on the internet and be like, let's sue General Mills and like, I don't know.
Well, for
It just
me,
seems like a headache. Like what? I mean, I don't know. What's the payoff for this? I guess.
I
money,
wonder if
sue
this
them?
guy's ever like gone viral before, because for me the nightmare is like an undue amount of tension online, whether it's good or
Yes.
bad. Like no matter what it is, I end up feeling grimy and gross when I am the subject of something going viral.
If you tweet something and you have more than 2,000 likes on that tweet, you've made a mistake.
Yes, I go for the
wanna
sweet
delete it.
spot.
I'd be like, oh,
I
shit,
try
what
to
did I do?
have if, a tweet's good if it's got like maybe 1,000 likes and 67 retweets. That is my ideal
That's the sweet
tweet.
spot. It starts getting more than that. You're like, oh no.
If it's
Oh,
more than
no,
that,
this
I'm
is-
like, I'm about to get canceled.
Well, this is the dumbest story I've ever heard in my life. I hate all parties involved. I don't like it, and I also just don't
I know.
like it. And yeah, I mean, I guess the one thing I'm thinking of to give him the benefit of the doubt is like people are allergic to shrimp, right? Like that could be.
That's what he
could
claimed he was
actually
doing
be-
it for. He was like,
Yeah,
I want,
bad.
but I mean, I don't
Which,
know.
by the way, what a weird thing to be allergic to. I don't mean to trivialize people.
Shellfish?
I know shellfish that it. I don't mean that it's like super unique because it's pretty common, right, to be allergic to shellfish. It's just like so bizarre. If you're to like stop and if you told someone, if someone knew nothing about allergies and knew that the idea of being allergic to something was foreign, and then you're like, yeah, so there's this deal with allergies where like people, if they ingest it or breathe something in, they have a reaction where like their lungs close up and all that, and you're like, whoa, okay. So I want you to now guess like what are things that people are allergic to.
Right.
Where is shrimp coming on that list?
Shrimp's
You know what I mean?
gonna be. I mean, it depends how you. I feel like this is a draft we could do. We could draft our allergies.
Yeah, like
but
the most like, the things that make sense to be allergic to, like poison ivy, that makes sense to me.
Oh, I
like
see
bee
what you mean.
stings kind of make sense.
yeah,
Like that stuff checks out, but like shrimp, like why? Why do we have that in our
scrimp.
Like we need to like genetically code ourselves to not wait. That might be we might be going. Mussolini's grandson might be like
Yeah,
down the line.
I'm
He's
like,
like yes.
oh. The Lazio team in Italy
I
turned
feel like
this
science-
podcast on and translates it into Italian so
Like,
their
yeah.
players can listen to it. All right.
I feel like science could figure out a way to like make us not allergic to like little fish in the sea. I don't know. Who
You'd
am
think
I?
so. I mean, maybe there is something. I don't know.
I don't know.
You'd
Anyway.
think they'd find a way not to put, shrimp in a box of cereal, but that happens
true.
too. I do have a few more NFL headlines if you're interested.
Go ahead.
So NFL apparently has cleared the way for Dan Snyder to buy out all the other Washington football team owners.
That's not what you want to hear, right?
No, that's very
That's the
bad.
opposite.
What else? I'm just looking at ESPN. I mean, Fox Sports top headlines here. T.Y. Hilton goes back to the Colts in a 1-year, $10 million deal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, nothing else. There's nothing else in the world of sports, Mark.
It's March Madness.
We did
it's
it.
March, baby. That's it. It's March Madness time.
Here's something that I want to ask you about, though, before we get to our list, which is a fun one this week. Last week on the podcast where I had to talk to myself, which I'm really glad you're back because it's strange having to just like sit with the sound of my own voice when I say really dumb stuff. Like I said
Yeah.
a bunch of really dumb stuff and I had to kind of roast myself for it, but I was also like embarrassed as I was saying it, but I was still saying it. And the question was, what are your biggest L's in terms of something that you were like convinced would happen or like had conviction about? Yeah, I know. And
Sorry,
the
what?
example that the guy gave was he thought that Facebook was a fad and Google Wave was going to be huge. And so I was like, look, I thought that, I didn't want an iPhone because I liked being able to feel the keys on my BlackBerry. I didn't want to join Twitter because I didn't feel the need to tell everybody what I was doing all the time, which is the biggest cell phone of all time. Things like that. And so I wondered if there was something like that you were sure was
the
going to
way-
happen and then didn't.
Yeah, this is. I see where you're going with this, by the way, and we'll discuss it here in a
I know.
second. But,
you know exactly what I'm trying to get you
Twitter-
to talk about.
Twitter I want to go back to my dream. I think this is my plan for Twitter because as you know, Charlotte, I've been trying to delete my Twitter for 10 years now.
Yeah, I know.
That is my only professional goal. Is people ask me, they're like, Mark, what are you in sports? What is your goal in sports media? What are you trying to do? Do you want to be the next Scott Van Pelt? Would that be it? Would you have your own show that everybody loves you for an hour a night? And we all like, you're just universally beloved across the industry. Is that what you want, Mark? And I say, no. What I want is to delete my Twitter account. That's it. That's all I want.
But I
That's
think
all I've
those
ever
two,
wanted.
I honestly think that those two things are related, because I think to delete your Twitter account, you have to get big enough where you don't need it.
Successful, you don't need it. Okay, well, that's what I want. I want to get so successful. But in the meantime, I think
we're taking this podcast to the moon.
Maybe I use my Twitter. I go back to like '08 Twitter, and I do just because, as you said, you don't want to join Twitter because you don't want to tell people what you're doing all the time. Maybe that's what. Maybe there's a market for that now, where you're just drinking coffee. That's all you say. I mean, that's what Coffee Dad does, I guess. You're just like watching a movie and having a beer, and that's what you tweet.
That's what John Boyce does.
That's a great brand.
What, I mean, you did that with your Chegs.
That's what Twitter used to be.
You said cheddar and eggs.
It was like, I'm going to grab lunch. And then you just fire off that tweet.
Should we do that for a week? Should we just like see how it feels after the tournament when you've got some time?
Just tweet, I'm hungry, and that's it, and hit enter and see what happens. And just
sitting on the toilet. Enter. All of mine would just be sitting on the toilet because like that's prime looking at Twitter time, you know.
Drinking beer and watching sports. Because I'm a real man. All right, so you want me to talk about Brad Stevens not going to Indiana? Is that what you want me to talk about? You want to talk about Big L's? Because that was the thing that I had cooking up that wasn't.
Can
March
you fill
Madness.
in the people who might not know what's going on?
So Brad Stevens is the head coach of the Boston Celtics, or is he? Who knows? Maybe he's in the midst of.
No.
He was the coach of the Butler Bulldogs, went to 2 national title games for Butler in the city of Indianapolis. He grew up in Indianapolis, on the outskirts of Indianapolis. He actually grew up in the town right next to me that I grew up in. He grew up in Zionsville. I grew up in Brownsburg. You look it up on a map. They're kind of next to each other. And he lived 36 years of his life in the state of Indiana. He made a name for himself, had great success. The Hoosier State afforded him a life of luxury. And then the Boston Celtics noticed this and said, we would like you to be our head coach. So they hired him in 2013. At the same time that they hired, right before they hired him, the Indiana Hoosiers were the #1 team in the country for most of the season. And they lost to Syracuse in the Sweet 16. They were humiliated. And I remember at that time saying, if I'm Indiana, I fire, even though they were #1 all season, I fire Tom Crean right now and hire Brad Stevens. That's what I would do. And I was pretty smart at the time because the Boston Celtics were thinking the same thing, that we should hire Brad Stevens, right? Mm-hmm. Even though it seemed ridiculous, like you would never fire Tom Crean just because he lost 1 NCAA tournament game.
Right.
But I was ahead of the curve, right? I was like, just to hire Brad Stevens. Then the Celtics hired Brad Stevens, and I said, damn, I guess he's not going to be taking the Indiana job. Fast forward 4 years, Tom Crean eventually does get fired. And Brad Stevens is now in Boston. He's settled in. Good, things are flowing well. You got Jason Tatum on the team, and you know he's not leaving to go to Indiana. But you know, if you're Indiana, you make the phone call because Brad Stevens is
family, again, life. You know, he's
from Indiana. He's made it clear that was his dream job. So they knew they weren't going to get him, but they thought, what the hell, we'll call him. So they call him. He hangs up the phone immediately. He's like, thanks, but no thanks. I work for the Celtics. Hangs up the phone. It's over. Fast forward another 4 years, which is now. Indiana just fired their coach. The Celtics are in free fall. They're about to get smoked by the Bucks, right? Like they play the Bucks in 2 games. They might be out of the playoff picture if they lose these 2 to the Bucks coming up. And Indiana needs a coach, and there was a lot of signs, Charlotte, pointing to. There weren't even signs. Like it was clear as day that Indiana believes that they were going to get Brad Stevens to be their coach because they paid $10 million to fire Archie Miller, which is an astronomical amount of money to do such a thing. The athletic director in his press conference talking about firing Archie Miller was like, we have basically unlimited money. So you start connecting dots, and you're like, oh my God, they're going to make a Godfather offer to Brad Stevens, and the timing is right. He's been in Boston for 8 years.
What does a Godfather? Oh, one you can't refuse.
Exactly that. They were gonna
still got it, folks.
They were gonna offer him an obscene amount of money to come back home to the place that he was born and raised and spent 36 years of his life. And so I started to like pay attention to what the athletic director was saying and the way the coaching search was going, which is like very secretive. Like I've never seen anything. This coaching search that Indiana is doing right now is the most ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it.
Do they have people like, can you flight track who's flying in?
Yeah, you can flight track. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you been doing that?
Yeah. There have been flights going to Boston and
wow.
From the tiny ass airport. And there's like people found this booster that donated a ton of money to Indiana. And they named a golf course after him. There was a private flight going from Boston and a private flight going from the guy lives somewhere in Florida now. There were at the exact same time, a private flight going from Boston and a private flight going from Bloomington to the town that guy lives in.
Stop it.
Yeah. And so people are connecting all these dots and Indiana fans are getting carried away and they're like, this is definitely happening. Now, as someone who has spent 8 years trying to get Brad Stevens back in 2013, before it became like a meme, a joke, a punchline, I was saying that I was like, they should do whatever it takes to get Brad Stevens right now. And then he goes to the Celtics and obviously it becomes a pipe dream. But I thought back on it, I was like, this is 8 years in the making. We have to meme this into reality. So I started doing everything I could. I was memeing it I've never memed so hard in my life, Charlotte.
You memed to high heaven, Mark.
I memed to high heavens. I was memeing this into existence.
You were memeing for God.
And then eventually at some point, I worked myself into a shoot, is what they call it in the wrestling business, which is we'll say a fake storyline. You know, and a shoot is a real storyline in wrestling. Are you familiar with these terms?
Yes.
Yeah, and then what happens is you start believing the fake storyline so much that you actually start believing that it's a real storyline. And the waters got really muddy. And then I started paying attention to all the details of the coaching search and the fact that Brad Stevens had not said any, because like immediately out of the gate, 4 years ago, it was like shot down immediately. It was like, yeah, they called, I hung up. It's over, done. I'm not like no thanks, but no thanks. And this time around, it was like kind of like he the only time he addressed it was like these guys on Boston Sports Radio backed him into a corner, and they were like, you know, your name's getting floated around at Indiana, and he's like, yeah, that's pretty crazy, and he like wouldn't say anything. And then they're like, Brad, point blank, are you taking the job? And he's like, I'm not, and that's all he said. And that was like the most denial we got out of it. And I was like, that's weird. Why wouldn't he just come out and be like, I love my job with the Celtics. I love
right.
And he took some time to do that. There was a ton of stuff where I was like, oh my God, is this happening? Meanwhile, I swear to God, Indiana thought they were getting him. This is real. Like Brad has to want it, obviously, but Indiana, everybody I talked to in Bloomington, who some were more reliable sources than others, they believe they had a legitimate chance of getting him. Like they were like, this is our guy. It's happening. We really think it might be happening this time. And I started connecting the dots and I was like, oh my God, we're going to meme this guy home. It's happening.
You're memeing
and I got
him
so
home.
excited.
Oh my, so what happened? And
then about 20 minutes after the buzzer sounded, after Oral Roberts beat Ohio State, and it was like the most devastating loss of my sports fandom life, I decide I am not going to check Twitter because I know everyone's just dunking on me. And because we were doing a live stream for Fox. And so,
I watched.
Yeah. So I knew everyone was watching me be miserable, and I was like, I'm not even gonna get on Twitter. I'm not gonna check anything. I wanted to turn my phone off, but I knew I couldn't do that because I had to, for work, I had to coordinate with our producers and everything. So I was like, all right, well, I'll just stay off Twitter. So I go to move the app on my home screen so I'm not tempted to get on it. And when I go to pick up my phone, I got texts from my buddies are like, "Did you see the Stevens news?" And I was like, what? And I click on it. And 20 minutes after the buzzer sounds in Ohio State game, Brad Stevens does a press conference where he might as well have just said F Mark Titus. That's he's just like, I am not a kid anymore. I hate Indiana, basically. Like, Indiana is dead to me. I'm a masshole. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life because it sounded like he was being held hostage. That Danny Ainge had a gun to his head and was like,
he probably mean,
I'm a 44-year-old masshole and I eat Dunkin' Donuts and love the Patriots. Do you understand, Charlotte, saying you love the Patriots when you're an Indiana guy? You're saying that's an act of war.
Yes,
in Indiana.
I know. So, okay, I have a few...
so that was my biggest L because I talked myself into it. But I will say, in my defense, Charlotte, they took Brad Stevens off the board in Vegas. So we won. We got one sliver of a win.
Mark, you did it.
Vegas was scared. I had Vegas shaking in their boots. They were like, "Oh shit, is this happening?"
Yeah, you got someone in Vegas convinced they were about to lose a ton of money, and that to me is about as close to a win as you can get if you didn't actually take the job. So I'm proud of you. I also want to say a few things about that. First of all, the conviction that you had publicly, I just want everyone to know that was also like, that wasn't a bit. You weren't like, you did work yourself. No, Mark, you texted me explanations for why Stevens...
No, hold on. This is the beauty of what I do, is that you're memeing it. I had convinced myself that there was a chance. I didn't think he was coming per se, but like, I convinced myself there's a legitimate chance, and that's all I wanted anybody to say, is that he did. And I still believe that, by the way.
You said it was looking like it was good. Like,
hold on. What is this black and white thinking, Charlotte? We can't live in the middle of like, there's a chance of...
Right. But what I want people to know, that I think is to your credit, is that you had as much conviction offline as you did online. And that is something that I respect about you. And that is something that I try, it's not like you had me convinced. I was convinced that the Celtics were about to lose their coach. Let's just put it that way.
Good. I convinced Vegas. You
convinced me. I was sitting on my couch being like, Mark says it's over.
And I still will. I will go down with the ship. I will go to my grave believing this. I don't care how many times Brad Stevens says it. I 100% will always believe that he did not say no immediately this time. And that's all I was trying to say.
And I agree.
They called him, and Indiana said, we will double your salary. We will give you a 10-year contract to come back home. And he said, let me think about it for like an hour at least.
Yes.
That's all I was saying.
And I think you're right, especially the flight tracker stuff. That really, to me, kind of brings it. I'm a big flight tracker guy.
I did take the L, and I took it at the worst time possible, because it was right after it was on the heels of that. And I just remember thinking, like, the haters won. I mean, I literally tweeted that. I was like, the haters won today. There's no other way to, I mean...
They did.
I lose. I took a big L on last Friday.
I was a little worried watching that live stream, but I watched it just because I wanted to. I was like, I gotta check on Mark. And can I get a little credit? All I texted you was, how are you doing? Someone should get you food. You seem pretty hungry. And then I checked up on you the next day regarding Ohio State. You checked up on me the next day.
Yeah, the first day I wasn't trying to talk to anybody. I had a lot of people texting me.
Yeah, I know, but I was just like, someone should get you a sandwich, because I've almost passed out on air, and I think you're about to, because you're hungry. So but I'm glad we had that. I'm glad you had that. I think that it went from, speaking of gray areas, it was somewhere between a win and a loss.
It was, they took it, Charlotte, they took it off Vegas. When do they take things off the board? When do they take things off the board if they don't think there's some smoke there? Right?
I've never gotten anything taken off the board at Vegas.
They took it off the board. You could have bet on Brad Stevens. He was like 10 trillion to 1 odds. And then suddenly they're like, oh shit, we better pull this from the board. You sound like
someone like a delirious, like you're a little delirious. So you're like, they took it off the board. They took it off the board. They did.
That's a win. For Indiana basketball, that's one of the biggest wins Indiana basketball's had in a long time. So
wow.
It's not over. Hey, you want me to sound delusional? It's not over yet.
Yeah, you're like Charlie from It's Always Sunny when he's like trying to track down Pepe Sylvia.
Charlotte, just maybe Indiana checks back in after the the Celtics tank.
I don't know if it's fair to let you believe this, or like it's like a little kid who's believed in Santa for too long. Like, do you just tell him? It's not dead yet. Okay, all right. Do you want to do our list?
Yeah, we can do our list. What was our list we were doing today?
We're doing teams that you'd want to walk on left in the tournament. Teams that you would want to be a walk on for out of the teams left in the tournament.
Yeah, you say tournament funny. That's funny.
What do I say? Tournament?
Yeah, how many W's are in the word tournament?
Tournament.
Tournament?
Tournament.
Wings?
A tournament.
You got that's just
the Red Wings are in the tournament today.
Tournament. You got the Northeast tournament.
Is that like the old? Am I talking like I'm at a yacht club? Oh, the tournament was just delightful.
Yeah, you say like tour-ish, and where I'm from, it's The tournament.
The tournament. Who's left?
Yeah, we're doing the teams. I think about this all the time, is like, which was my walk-on experience at Ohio State the best walk-on experience I could have had, and if I could pick to be if I could choose to be walk-on at any of these schools remaining, which one would I I don't know why I do this a lot, but I kind of
No,
do
I love
because,
that. I think that
yeah.
that's a great, you know, once you've had a choice and you've made a choice, it's very easy to then be like, oh, what would the other choices have been like
Yeah.
years after the fact.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of fun to think about the different pros and cons of each of these, and not to be on it, be a walk on it. Like, you know, you're not playing.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. You're not.
Neither of us are getting seeing any
you're not-
time.
You are not getting in the games. So yeah, let's do you could take this a million different ways, by the way. You could.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious to hear your explanations for the teams that you're picking. So I'll let you go
You're gonna
first
like
as
'em.
usual.
You're gonna like
What
'em.
is number 5 on your list of teams you would want to walk on for in the Sweet 16 here?
The number 5 on my list, it's been really hard for me recently to, I guess, talk at all, but also just say numbers in order. Like, that really tripped me up last week when you weren't here. Okay, so 5, the Villanova men's team. And this is because I feel bad that I didn't pick them. I was so close to becoming a Villanova fan, and then I became a UVA fan, and I might be the Drake of the University of Virginia because
What does that mean? Like,
it means I rooted for them and they lost. You know what I mean? Like, Drake
Yeah,
puts on
but
a jersey
Drake-
and everyone's like, no.
yeah, that's true. But then the Raptors won. Is the Drake curse over? Because the
That's
Raptors
what I
won?
said. Was I
don't
talking
know.
to this about with you?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
Do
okay,
you
so
talk
is
to
the Drake
anybody
curse over? Oh no, Ben brought it up last week. He was like that, you know, something about the Drake curse, and I was like, yeah, well, but it's over because of the Raptors. And he was like, no, it's not. And I was like, well, are you saying it's the exception that proves the rule? But I don't know that the Drake curse is over.
Put this in a tally in my belief that Ben is just a younger, better looking version of me. You can't even. You're just like, yeah, Ben is Mark, right? He's just. No, I wasn't talking to Mark. I was
No,
talking
Mark.
to better Mark. That's right, better Mark.
Look, no,
better,
it's
Mark.
not. Oh my
Mark
God.
upgrade. That's what
I was talking to the person who was not in elbows deep in basketball. You were busy, man.
That's a nice way of putting it. Villanova's a good pick. Although right now I would be a little worried because they've had a couple injury problems, and if I was a walk on, I would be like looking at our roster right now and saying, "Oh no, am I going to have to be asked to play a lot?" In
Yeah, but
situations.
to me, that's a little exciting because then I'd be like, how
You
can
get
I
your
blow
heart-
this?
yeah.
Like, what's
Yeah.
going to go viral of me blowing the game in this situation? If we can't win and we can't have glory, like, at least give me the worst possible ending.
Number 5 on my list is Syracuse, because Syracuse plays zone defense, which is preferable to me. Like if I'm going to be practicing every day in practice, I don't want to have to really like play defense, and zone defense lends itself to that. So where you can the great thing about zone defense is you can blame it on your teammate very easily.
Right, you're
Where-
like, he
where
was
man-to-man- Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you just point your teammate and you're like, dude, that's you, man. And then you kind of argue with them, and then
Yeah.
and that would suit me well. Also, if you're going against the zone on, you know, if Syracuse, if the real team is practicing their defense, you get to run scout team against the zone, and that suits my skill set well too, because it's just basically I would just shoot threes over the zone all day.
Perfect.
So it's a really good fit. I don't know how much longer Syracuse is going to be in this tournament. But as far as like, I picked Syracuse at number 5 because I would thrive as a walk-on in Syracuse practices. If I had to get into the practices and like mix it up with the real players, I would dominate those practices per walk-on standards. You know what I mean?
Yes, I mean, you're thinking about it the right frame of mind. You know, it's not like you got to think of the practices. You've got to think of how you're going to interact with the bench. Syracuse is also on my list, but they're number 2. And so I'm just going to go out of order. I'm going to talk about Syracuse now because the reason that I would want to be, this gets so like, I think I have a creepy thing about like coaches and their family, from like wanting to know everything about their families. Jim Boeheim's son.
Yeah.
Buddy.
Yeah.
I got very into the dynamics of this family. I wanted to know what Buddy's real name was, so I Googled it. His name is Jackson. Turns out that Jim Boeheim's wife, Julie, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but she's a total babe. Like, she's a very, very attractive woman. And they have 2 other kids, and they're both named Jamie and then Jimmy. So are both of their names, are they both named after their dad?
That's a great question. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Exactly. So I want to be a walk-on so that I can ride the bench and become
Just
like the fun buddy friend of Buddy, and also have Jim like me because he doesn't expect anything of me, so I can't let him down, and then just know everything about the dynamics of their family.
Yeah, I have a feeling that wouldn't work as well as you like. Jim Boeheim does not strike me as a guy that would hang out, let his walk-ons.
But that's why it's such a challenge, Mark. And that's why it would prove
challenge.
If I actually do have the charisma and friend-making abilities that I like to think that I have. That's my ultimate white whale. Can I become friends with Jim Boeheim?
Become friends with Jim Boeheim, who is not even friends with. He's probably not even friends with his wife.
Who doesn't talk to his own children?
He's not friends with anybody.
Right.
Jim Boeheim gets in front, at least publicly. Every time Jim Boeheim opens his mouth publicly, he's like, "I hate this." And you're like, "What, Jim?" And he's like, "I don't know. I haven't really figured it out yet, but I hate this." And I'm trying to figure out what this is today.
Yeah, exactly. So if I can be one thing he doesn't hate, that'd be
awesome. Yeah.
Anyway, all right.
Number 4 on my list is Arkansas because Eric Musselman. I'm not sure how much you know about this guy.
I got really into Arkansas this year.
Arkansas basketball is a content machine. They know what they're doing in terms of social media, in terms of branding, in terms of all of that. And I think as a walk-on who, in my experience as being a walk-on, I had a blog, obviously. That's why I do this career I have today. It speaks to me to be a walk-on at a program that would like if I was on the team at Arkansas and I went to one of the coaches and I was like, hey, I want to start like a YouTube channel. Every other coach in the country, I feel like, would be like, absolutely not. Go stand in the corner. And if we need you, we're going to beat your ass in practice. That's what you're here for. At Arkansas, they'd be like, hell yeah, we'll set it up for you. And we'll get you, we'll buy subscribers for you or do whatever we need to do to promote this thing. So that's why Arkansas is on my list at number 4.
I love that. That's such a good pick. I like how specific you're getting here because you really have thought about this a lot, haven't you? Like you think about this every time you watch basketball.
Every time I watch basketball, I'm watching the end of the bench and seeing how the walk. Do they look happy? Do you guys look happy? Are you having a good time? Is there anything I can do to help?
I miss seeing them all next to each other.
I know.
You know, that sucks.
But the trade-off is because the benches are spaced out, the benches can go wild with stuff like never before. Like they're celebrating and the way so that's pretty cool, at least, you know. They
have a wider like range of motion because there's, you know what I mean? I'm doing a thing with my hands that anyone listening to the podcast can't see, but where it's like, you know, wow. Anyway, my number 4, the Loyola men. Mark, you're going to hate this, but listen, I think they're on a run. Sister Jean said that she had them getting to the Elite 8. And I think with the way this tournament is going and the way that Sister Jean, I just think that maybe this is the year that like the prayers are working. And I want to be a part of that because I worry that there's bad karma floating around out there for me. And I think that being a walk-on on that team, not really having much to do with the wins, but like being moral support for those wins could probably get me some of that good spiritual, whatever it is that they've got going at Loyola. So that's my pick. What's your third?
You go to Sister Jean and you're like, hey, sister, I've been having a rough go at life lately. Like, do you think maybe you could pray? She's like, no, I don't pray for that. That's not what I do, Charlotte. I pray for wins. I pray for Final Four runs. We do not.
Like, Sister Jean, I really need an A on this exam. And she's like, what? No. Who do you think I'm not like an order a prayer nun, you know. Also, I'm Jewish, so I don't know how that all works out. But
Sister Jean, my relationship with my mother isn't great. Can you help us mend that? She's like, absolutely not. And you're like, okay, we're playing Oregon State this weekend. Can you get us a W? And she's like, that I can do.
She's like, I am on it. Yeah, there could be a great show, like a great stupid sitcom, like If God Were Only a Sports Fan.
Yeah, like, isn't that what God Friended Me is on CBS? I don't know. I don't watch that stupid show.
I just reinvented like
God Friended Me. Yeah.
If God Were a Sports Fan, starring Charlotte Wilder.
I met it's like the spinoff of God Friended Me. It's like I met God at a sports bar.
Yeah.
And we both love the Cubs.
God put $1,000 on Loyola.
God hit his parlay.
God had a bad beat on the whole coronavirus thing. Anyway, sorry. What's your number 3?
By the way, can you name 2 players on Loyola's team now that they've made the Sweet 16 for the second time in what, 4 years now? 3 years?
Sister?
Last 3 years. Yep.
And Jean.
Yep. That's what I thought. Point.
So I did it.
Point proven. That's it. That's point proven.
I can't even fight it. I'm just letting you have this because I can't name a single player.
I mean, imagine you're Cameron Krutwig and you've made 2 you've made 2 Sweet 16s. You made the Final Four. You're a star player for Loyola, and everyone. I
don't know his name.
More people are starting to know him, so that's okay.
Well, it's depressing, Mark, because sometimes I worry about my either information intake or memory because, like, I've watched every single March Madness game this year. Like, I've been really obsessed, and then you ask me something like that and I'm like, I don't know. I can't recall it. They're too, like, I immediately go to USC because they're kind of the same colors and I'm like, the Mobleys? Like, that's how my brain, like, I think my brain is just melting out of my ears, you know?
Maybe
anyway.
That's why you've enjoyed March Madness so much is you just have like amnesia or something.
I think I do.
Like, you like forget that you've watched the Oral Roberts Ohio State game like 12 times at this point and you're like, wow, another upset. You just keep showing it on.
I just keep watching the same game and not realizing it over and over.
This is insane.
That's what it feels like, Mark. So
number 3 on my list is UCLA. This is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, you get live in Los Angeles. It's a blue blood school. The swagger that you would have if you just get to walk around campus and say I'm on the basketball team. It's unrivaled, and you have that for life. I mean, you can go to reunions and rub elbows with Bill Walton and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and be like, yeah, I was on the team, back then, and you were on the team too. Yeah, we're kind of the same, Kareem, me and you. Like we both were basketball players at UCLA. Yeah.
Right on the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
We're both bloggers, Kareem.
Yes. So that's why UCLA is number 3. I don't think UCLA is on a little bit of a surprise run here right now. So
they had a play-in game, right?
They would be higher. Like if UCLA was a 1 seed, they're number 1, and not even no thought about it. Like that is the only reason they're number 3 on my list is because they're an 11 seed. And I think they got Alabama coming up. Alabama's pretty good. They're probably going to lose, and that's going to be the end of the run. So like that part wouldn't be fun. But going to UCLA and being on the basketball team would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, going to UCLA and no offense to Colby, but like that sounds fun. Yeah. Okay, number 3 on my list is the Iowa's women's team, because Caitlin Clark is electric. And I love that she is going to be going up against Paige Beckers. UConn's finally going to have to play a hard team. I think both of them are really fun, and I'll get to UConn. Well, now it gives it away, but
you're awesome at suspense. I wonder what your top 2 are going to be. Are they going to be Syracuse men and UConn women, Charlotte? I mean, my God.
Damn it. I did it wrong. I told you I'm messing up numbers this week. Okay, whatever. Anyway, I'm going to talk about Iowa first, though. I think that I could be a really great friend and support system to a superstar on a team that is good but like isn't a dynasty. Like I think that I could provide the moral support and laughter for someone. Like I could help Caitlin Clark thrive on the sort of like friend front, and then just watch her and be so proud and not feel jealous at all because like I know I'm not going to play, so it's not an issue. You know what I mean? That
was kind of my role at Ohio State. Like I was Greg Oden's friend who just kind of made him laugh, and Ohio State wasn't quite like the basketball program. That was kind of the start of a good run for Ohio State basketball to where it is now, where it's highly ranked all the time and all that. Because at the time, they had won the Big Ten the year before, but like that was very early in the rebuild of the program, so to speak. So there weren't. Yeah, that year was awesome, and that was my role. It was like they were trying to. There wasn't a ton of pressure, but at the same time there was because we were really good. But like. It wasn't like Ohio State fans were spoiled yet like they are now where they expect greatness every year. So they were just like, yeah, this is cool. We're ranked number 1. Oh my God, this is insane. They loved it.
Totally.
and then I was just the jackass in the locker room that made the guys laugh.
You know,
every so
Mark,
often.
you always say that we don't have much in common besides the fact that our brains are like both kind of broken, but like we have that in common. Like I was in my limited sports experience, I was the jackass in the locker room, and I think I could be the best jackass Iowa has ever seen for Caitlin Clark, and I want the best for her.
Do you have eligibility? We should like make this a reality where like you actually go be a walk-on. Go get an advanced degree, and I don't know, probably. You probably could, honestly.
How does that work though? Like I went to college.
But you didn't play any sports, did you?
I mean, no.
Squash
for half a semester.
Yeah, I think you
count,
could.
Right?
I legitimately think you could. If you went to go get an advanced degree somewhere, if you wanted to go to med school or something, and you were enrolled at Iowa's, I don't know, or you just got your MBA at Iowa.
Here's what we have to do.
You could walk onto the basketball team. Yeah, for sure.
We have to get Fox to pay for 1 year of a master's program in writing at Iowa, because the Iowa Writers Workshop is like the best program, and that I've actually thought about going there when I was in college. And so if someone will pay for that and we can turn it into content of me trying to walk on to the basketball team, or maybe a team that I can actually play the sport of, but it's kind of funnier if it's basketball, that could be a series. Like people would watch that reality show.
I cannot imagine a reason why Fox would say no to this.
I'm calling Buck immediately after we get off this podcast. That's a killer idea. Come on.
Number 2 on my list is the Gonzaga Bulldogs. This one is a little straightforward, just in that Gonzaga has a chance to go undefeated, and they are the best team left in the tournament. And I believe that they're going to win the tournament. And that's why I would want to be on their team, because you could win a national championship, one, but then also you could be a part of the undefeated team. The last time a men's team went undefeated was 1976, Charlotte. If Gonzaga pulls this off, you are a part of history forever, or at least until the next undefeated team comes along, which is probably going to be a while. And that's it. So that's pretty much it. It's just like to be a walk-on the best team would be awesome. I was close to it, as I said, in 2007. We weren't quite the best team. We ended up losing the national title game. But that year was magical. It was a ton of fun to just like watch us wreck everybody all season. And I would love to do that for Gonzaga. I would love to run it back, except this time actually win the title and be a legend forever and go back to Gonzaga and be like, yeah, I was on the team. Kiss my ring. This is me. You see that? It says 30-0 on the ring. That's me. Yep.
That's me. That's me. Wow. You know, I have the same logic for my number 1. I mean, we know my number 2 is Syracuse. I've already explained my creepy. It's like a Nick Saban daughter's wedding thing. Again, I don't know what's going on. Wait till I find the Bayham's Instagram accounts, is all I'm saying. Anyway, my number 1 is the UConn women, because it's also straightforward. I think it would be absolutely the coolest thing ever to be part of a dynasty. The last time they won was what, 2016? The whole tournament?
Oh, really?
I think
it's been that long.
Hold on. Last UConn women's win. No, not championship win. Why is it so hard to find this? Sorry. What years did? Isn't this fun for everybody?
I'll find it. Yeah. 2016.
Yeah.
2015,
okay, so,
2014. They won 4 in a row. Because, yeah, and then Breonna Stewart left, and then they haven't won since, right?
And they haven't won since. And I think that Paige, as I said, Paige Beckers, who's good friends with Caitlin Clark, and they have to play each other, and I think that's kind of fun. But she is, they have this really amazing freshman team, and they have a hard road to get there. Like, Baylor's going to give them a hard time if they can beat Iowa. And I just think that it's an exciting season, that if they can win it, like if the dynasty of UConn can do it again in 2021.
Such a New England line of thinking of like, we win 1 trillion titles, but we still find a way to paint ourselves as underdogs. You're like listen to what you're saying. You're like, UConn, can they do it? Can they get over the hump? Oh, man.
Oh my God, I'm embarrassed because I didn't even think of, like, I don't think of it. Like, I honestly do it. Like, I mean that.
It's been 5 years. Oh,
whatever. I want to be a walk-on on the team, and I want to tell jokes that make everybody go out there and be like, we're going to go get them. And Shar, you're not going to play, but we're happy to have you here. So that's my list.
Number 1 on my list is USC, because there are a few reasons.
Because one of the guys from Last Chance U basketball is going to play there next year?
Sure. Because USC is in Los Angeles. Like weather matters to me. Gonzaga, that's probably why I knock Gonzaga down, because Spokane, no disrespect, but you're not Los Angeles in terms of where I would want to go to school for weather purposes.
Yep.
So USC is in LA, just like UCLA is. They're better. They're a little better than UCLA. Like USC has a chance. They are gonna play Oregon. They've already beat Oregon. They beat Oregon's brains in the last time they played. And then I think they have a decent chance that they end up playing Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. I think USC matches up well, and they can pull the upset. And if you pull the upset, if you're a walk-on at USC, you pull the upset on Gonzaga, you're a legend. It's been forever since USC went to a Final Four in basketball. So if you could be a part of that ride, it would be awesome. On top of that, you have Evan Mobley might be the #1 pick in the NBA draft, to be his teammate and get those inroads. And like
over Cade Cunningham?
Maybe. We don't know.
Okay.
There's a lot of basketball left to be played, Charlotte.
Okay,
a lot of
Mark.
workouts to be had this summer. We'll see where it goes.
So true.
But yeah, he is very good. If he was #1, I wouldn't be surprised at all, actually. So you kind of, I would work that angle. He would be my Greg Oden this time around, and I would be like, hey man, can I be friends with you? And then tell stories about how I'm friends with you and turn that into a career. You'd have that. It checks all the boxes. The only thing is like they're in Gonzaga's region, which I don't love, because I do want to make the Final Four as a walk-on. Because again, I have said the phrase, I went to a Final Four no less than 10,000 times in my life.
Yeah, obviously it's the coolest thing that
it would be cool to it would be cool to be able to say like I was in the Final Four, and so that's the one thing that worries me. But USC checks every other box, so that's my #1.
I love it. This is a great list, Mark. I just love that we gave you a space to talk about the things that you think about that you don't talk about when you're supposed to actually be talking about basketball.
Charlotte, one thing that I was waiting for you to bring up that you didn't, and I'm actually stunned. I'm absolutely stunned that you didn't bring it up, is that your birthday's tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Well, today, if you're listening to the podcast,
if you're listening to this,
on Thursday. If you're listening to this, if you can hear this, you've listened to the podcast for too long. Yeah, it is my birthday, and I'm 32, and that's not really an exciting birthday.
I can't believe you're so forthcoming with your age. That's awesome. That's very no, for real.
Really?
Yeah.
You think people so here's the thing, Mark. The week before I turned 30, I was riddled with anxiety. I was freaking out. I was panicking. I was like, my whole thing is that I'm like a young up and comer. Like I'm supposed to be good at my job, and I'm young, but like once you turn 30, it's like not cute that you're good at your job anymore. Like it never was cute that I was good at my job, but like you know, people are like, oh wow, she's young. And now it's just like, oh, she's an adult and she gets paid to talk about sports. But the day that I turned 30, I woke up and I've never felt freer. I felt amazing. I was like, all right, hell yeah, let's go. I'm a legitimate adult. I can do something just switched in my brain where I really did stop caring a little bit more. A little, I still care too much what other people think, but like it got less than it used to be. And I was just like, you know what? Here I am. We're going to do this. And I'm going to be a 32-year-old weirdo. But like, there you go.
There we go. And
that's my manifesto on. Also,
right before our very eyes.
Yes, she is. And also, you know, Ann Shar is waiting for me, and we're on a collision course. She's getting younger and I'm getting older. And any day now, we're just gonna hit each other. We're gonna become one, and then the transformation is complete.
That's Uncle Mark is already there. I've fully embraced my old man. On my 30th birthday, I woke up with heartburn for the first time in my life, and I was like, this is a sign that I should just give up and just stop and just let it go. And then I started
it's better than the hangover that I woke up with on my 30th birthday.
Listen, we because it's your birthday, we have a surprise for you on the show.
Oh no.
We got you something.
No, you didn't.
Our production team wanted to get you something for your birthday.
Okay.
And it's not here yet, but I'm going to show you what it is. It is and I'm going to explain it to the people at home.
Oh, what?
It is a neon sign that says "Ever Hopeful," custom made.
Oh my god!
In cursive that you can hang in your next to your Patrick Ewing poster.
I can hang it above Patrick. Oh my god!
We got you that for your birthday. Happy birthday, Charlotte.
Thank you so much.
I came back to do the show just for your birthday, too.
Are you leaving again next week?
I'm
Are you
wanting to
leaving
leave.
me?
Yeah, that's it. I'm done.
Mark's
Call Ben
never doing the
Verlander,
show
get him
again.
back.
Please come back. Please come back. Oh my God. Thank you guys so much. That is too nice. I'm very earnest, but then when it comes to me, I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's so nice. That's so nice.
I can't believe you didn't bring your birthday up. That is a sign of you are mature and you've settled into being a little older. It's like I was waiting for you to just drop the, so it's like, yeah, because my birthday is tomorrow.
I legitimately forgot, Mark, doing the whole shit. Like there was never a point. The only point that I thought about my birthday was when I was like, I'm 31. And then I was like, oh no, I'm 32. And then when this comes out, and then I just like kept going because I was like, whatever.
I expect you to be like, so number 3 on my list. So it's because it's my birthday tomorrow. I have, and then I'm like, what? That had nothing to do with anything, Charlotte. But you aren't that way. Well, look at you.
Wow, a real grown up.
Is there anything else? Is that it?
Send us emails.
Send us emails. Happy birthday, Charlotte.
Thanks, Mark.
Good to be back.
Thanks, guys. I'm glad to have you. Are you going to be back next week, you think?
Who knows? We'll see. We'll see what
right.
Ben Verlander's up to.
Dave, hey, stop it. Don't do this. We're not doing this. The show is over. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Hey, pals. Thanks for watching the People's Sports Podcast YouTube channel. For more of mine and Mark's very weird rabbit holes, stick around, watch more. You can subscribe, smash that subscribe button. You know you want to. We're going to give you all the weird stuff we possibly can.